Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Goud Crowd. I am your host, Goud. I guess the show is named after me. And we are streaming live on X, on YouTube, on Rumble. And is there anywhere else, Mr. Producer, that I'm forgetting? On X, we're actually on my handle, and then also at the Main Street Media Utah handle. And then YouTube and Rumble is the Main Street Media Utah handle. Oh, and we're at kmmu.org. Okay, so let's start with some. I saw this and I just gotta say, it sounds like Ebola is now a thing. So let's just see if we can play this real quick.
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that
concerned about Ebola.
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that it's been confined right now to Africa. But it's something that has had a breakout. I could ask Bobby or Oz to say a couple of words about it if you'd like. Want to do that?
I think Heidi Overton is going to come up and give us a few words here. Dr. Overton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the CDC held a press briefing that provided a lot of the answers and information, but we have stood up a full interagency response. The Department of State, the CDC, the Department of War, everyone is fully involved in tracking. Today, we do have an announced today at the press briefing. There is an American that is symptomatic and has tested positive for, it's the Bundibuja virus, a strain of Ebola. That American, as well as 6 other high-risk contacts, are going to be taken out of that region and taken to Germany. We want to thank our German counterparts. That is an internationally recognized location for viral hemorrhagic fever treatments. So we're very grateful that they would take them. It's a significantly shorter flight time for Americans to receive treatment there in Germany. For all other Americans, we have issued travel warnings. We have instituted just today entry restrictions for non-U.S. citizens that are.
Okay. So I feel like they are trying every single way to come up with the latest pandemic. So hopefully they are not successful and we can kind of live our lives normally without having these types of problems pop up again. I hope that Trump learned his lesson from the entire COVID thing last time and that we don't have anything like that or any sort of response like that. And actually I actually think that if you're an American, you go to Congo or Rwanda or whatever, and you get Ebola, when you come back, you should have to quarantine. Or maybe you should just have to quarantine if it's an issue. Because I don't really care if you went or not. I don't want to have to have any restrictions on me because I have no plans on going to those places. So like maybe we could be more rational about this, not have any shutdowns, not go crazy. Because now this is like the second virus I'm hearing about in just the past few weeks. And to me, it just seems like somebody wants there to be a pandemic. You know, who it is, I don't know. But it does seem like there's people that want this stuff. Okay, so now we'll go to local stuff. So today I got an email from the Salt Lake, from some members of the Salt Lake County GOP. And we talked about this in a show before, but there was this meeting where 8 members of the GOP were either removed from their positions or banned from the party for a certain amount of time for writing a letter to different of the city attorneys and I think city councils, saying that they thought that the GOP had violated the law when they endorsed local candidates. And so there's been a movement to call a special central committee meeting to deal with that issue, because the removal was done by the executive committee of the Salt Lake County GOP. And so now there are the members that were removed, and they call themselves the Great Eight. They have been asking precinct chairs to sign up to call a special meeting where they could then be restored to their previous positions. And I would say, like, I'm a precinct chair. I think we should have the meeting. I don't really have an issue with that. And so I'll just show you. They sent an email out today because I guess there's enough signatures, but for whatever reason, the special meeting is not being called. And so let me just make sure. Okay, so you can see here, failure to call special meeting. We're writing to you about they got, I think they had to get 10% of the precinct chair sign on to the request, and they got it. And I guess the Salt Lake County GOP chair, Mike Carey, is not calling that meeting. So I don't know exactly what the thinking is here as to why he's not calling the meeting or moving forward if they've gotten the minimum number of people to sign up. Now, I think that the first time when the signups happened, I don't know if the actual requests were sent to Mike or not. My understanding is that they may have gone to the vice chair and that Mike did not see them. And so it was Mike's view, I believe, and this is what I've heard, that, like, he needs to actually see them. And I can see the point in this, right? You want to be able to see that there's actually 10% of your precinct chairs have requested this meeting. Now, what I don't know is on this one, if he has seen the requests, right? Because again, I think he could make an argument that I need to actually see who has requested the meetings to make sure we've hit the 10% threshold, and then we'll call it. But anyway, they are now saying that he's not calling the meeting, and so they're asking everybody to attend the next CCM. So this is the County Central Committee meeting, County Central Committee meeting on May 30th, so in a week from Saturday, where I guess they're going to make an issue about this. And it was kind of interesting because there was some back and forth going on in response to this email that went out. And there were people saying that they want to remove him from the chair. I don't even know if that's like an option or not, but it's a very interesting thing. The drama continues, and we'll see if anything comes of it. Usually I'm in the Guard, and usually the CCMs fall on my drill weekend, but actually this time it doesn't. So I might actually go and see. I'm curious to see where this all goes, because it's, I grew up in an Indian household with Indian immigrant parents, and so we love drama. So I will be there to watch the drama, see what happens. Okay, so I'll give you updates as that kind of plays out. Maybe we'll try to have someone on next week. I'll see if one of the members of the Great Eight wants to come on. If they're listening, they can call it. I'd love to hear more about it. And we'll see where that goes. Okay, next. And I'll be a little bit all over the place today. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. And at 5:30, we'll actually have Jackie, and for some reason I can't remember her last name. Jackie Martin will come on, and she's going to talk about the Salt Lake County Council and how they made a trip out to Hawaii for a conference. And so it's the same people who voted to raise your property taxes by 15%. Now we're on a boondoggle trip to Hawaii. And so let's hear what she has to say about it and what she's found out. But there's a new book out by, I guess, is it Utah Politico? So let me show you this. And it's called Utah Siggate. And so what I think he did, and I think it goes by JT Show. So I think what he's done is he's actually taken all of the different documents involved in this, right? So the grandma request, the responses to the grandma request, the court documents, court filings, court rulings, and put it into a book that I believe, if I remember what he wrote, that he had AI actually assist him in writing the book and kind of telling the story of how Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson stole the 2024 primary election in Utah, right? Because remember, they had to get 28,000 signatures from registered Republicans in the state to be able to get onto the GOP ballot. They did not. They didn't have the 28,000 signatures. They had tons and tons of forgeries. We don't actually know the exact number yet because they will not disclose that. And so, and by the way, on that, it means that the people whose signatures were actually forged don't even realize that their signatures were forged on those petitions. That's how bad this is. Because right now, the lieutenant governor actually has a new system where you can go on there and you can check which petitions you have signed. And so I have sorry, my dogs are back, so there might be some noise in the background, but I have screenshots from 2 victims of forgeries from that system. And each of them have a different report back about their signatures on those petitions. So one guy, he did it, and when he looked it up, it shows that his signature was unreadable. The other person, when she looked it up, it just doesn't show that she signed Governor Cox's petition at all. And the problem with both of those responses is it does not tell them that their signatures were forged on the petition, so they have no idea. Because I think that every single person whose name, address, and other information were forged on those petitions, they should be notified. They should be notified that their signatures are forged on the document so that they can go and they can take appropriate action, whatever that looks like. Because the way it works is that the signature gatherers actually, they used a system called Votive. It's a software program that actually has voter information in it that owned by that. It's a signature gathering company called The Gathering Inc. And so they actually give their signature gatherers access to this program, and they're able to look up voter information in the program. And so when they do that, they can then take it and fill out the signature packets and forge people's information and their signatures. Now, they don't know what the signature looks like. They just make it up. And so, like I think I've said in previous shows, I've actually seen Don Ipson's petitions, and every single petition, I can look at it that I have, and I can tell that they're forged because the handwriting is all exactly the same. So all of that to say, though, that the signature gatherers took that information out of the Votive system, filled out the signature petitions, forged the signatures, and then submitted those. And so the lieutenant governor's office knows everybody whose signature was forged, but she has not informed them that they are victims. And so from my perspective, that's a problem, because if that was me, I might want to go and ask that my voter information be protected, right? As an at-risk voter, because of what happened to me previously. You also may have fears that those same signature gatherers took your information and now sold it somewhere or did other things that could put your identity at risk. And so we need that full transparency. And this is what I keep talking about. We need it. And because if anything, the least we need to do with it is to inform the victims that they were victimized, that their signatures were forged, that their information was forged, and that it's been compromised. And so they need to take steps to protect their identity. But this book is kind of a summary of what happened based on everything put together. I haven't read it yet, and I'm going to order it, but I listened to an audio summary of something that he wrote, and honestly, it was pretty well done. So I'm hoping that it'll be a good way for the story to be told, because I've kind of gone through pieces of it when we filed like the Rule 60B motion and stuff, but I don't know how fully if people have fully understood that story or not. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting, and just on this issue of people and the transparency piece, let me just show you this, because this did come up today actually, where I saw that someone was basically saying, here, let me show this. So what Normie Utah said, he liked the book, I guess. Your conclusion is what matters. And he says, yes, the signature gathering process, the companies for hire, the verification, the entire idea and means of purchasing ballot access is terrible. Simultaneously, the people asserting Governor Cox is illegitimate and there was anything systematically and differently bad about his signatures in particular are full of shit. This continuous litigation of 2024 primary signatures is destructive nonsense and doesn't accomplish anything other than making Phil Lyman a clown candidate. And so my point here, and so I posted about this, I said, look, right now, all the litigation is about bringing full transparency to what happened in 2024. And okay. So we want to know, how did the cheating happen? Who knew about it? When did they know about it? What did they do? Did they cover it up? And we're learning new information all the time. Just a couple of weeks ago, Michael Clara got an audio recording where it's very clear, if you listen to it, that these special agents from the Attorney General's office, when they started the investigation, they went in and they were only investigating Don Ibsen's petitions. But during the investigation, they realized that the same signature gatherers that they were looking at also collected signatures for Governor Cox, right? So they go and they meet with Ryan Cowley, the director of elections for the state in the lieutenant governor's office, and Scott Cheney. And Scott Cheney works for the Attorney General's office, but he represents the lieutenant governor's office. So he's the lawyer that the Attorney General's office provides to the LG. During the meeting, if you listen to it, and Michael has posted this online, it's very clear that Ryan Cowley is trying to dissuade the special agents from investigating Governor Cox's petitions, because I think he already knew that there were forgeries and fraud and problems, and likely he probably already knew that they didn't even have the signatures. And so we have to keep digging until we know all the facts. All the information is out there, and we're going to keep doing it until we get as much information as possible out of the government. That's the goal. And if Normie, I don't understand why Normie thinks that's a problem, because I think transparency is key to everything. I mean, so far, because of these efforts, the legislature changed all the laws around signature gathering. They've made it more transparent. We actually are the only campaign, we meaning Phil Lyman's campaign. I went, Michael Clara went, Sophie Anderson, Natalie Clausen, we all went and we actually poll watched signature verification this time. They were not able to do that in 2024. That's a new process that the legislature created, acknowledging that what happened in 2024 should not have happened. Now, there's more to this because, for example, we have a right, again, as Phil Lyman's campaign, to be able to go and look at all of Celeste Malloy's signature petitions, and we will do that because we plan on exercising every single part of that process so that it's clear to people that this was worth making these changes for. But that wouldn't have happened if Phil never went down this route and Michael Clara never went down this route and started to investigate what had happened in the process. So, I say to Normie, Utah, transparency is everything. You should never dissuade people from trying to get more transparency. And I think this entire thing is just misdirected. The actual problem are the people who cheated in 2024. It's not the people trying to bring transparency to what happened. We're the good guys. Okay, like the cheaters are the bad guys. We're the good guys. And I just get tired of all this victim blaming. Utah seems to have a lot of this where people they think you're contentious if you're the person trying to reacting, right? Phil didn't cheat in 2024. Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson did. Phil is responding to what happened by getting more transparency. He's the victim. His supporters are the victims, not Lieutenant Governor Henderson, not Governor Cox, not Ryan Cowley, not The Gathering, not Tanner Leatham, the CEO of The Gathering, not the signature gatherers. It's actually Phil Lyman, his supporters, and the people whose signatures were actually forged. Those are your victims. Okay. Let's see. Alex Thompson, 50, says, I didn't know Normie Utah could read. Okay. And then I think you mean my dogs are back. And then he says, I'm laughing at the irony of you arguing Norby, Utah, that transparency is everything. Yeah, right. Seriously, it's like I use a pseudonym. And so, but transparency is key. Okay. I guess, let's see here. Here's what I got. Okay, let me talk about this. So I guess Trump was going to do more attacks on Iran tomorrow. This was just a little bit earlier. So let's listen real quick.
Well, other countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I've put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us. And, it's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything. We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and didn't work out, but this is a little bit different. Now, we're ready going tomorrow, very big, and not something I wanted to do, but we have no choice because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Well,
okay. So, I mean, it's a good thing that the attack got put off. I will say, though, that I'm struggling with this, what's going on in Iran, because I don't understand. Mr. Producer says your screen shares are working great. I restarted my computer before we started, so I think it helped. But I was going to say, I don't understand what's going on with this Iran war. And I worry about it more from a political perspective, meaning that I think it'll have an impact on the midterms. And I don't know that people are fully kind of calculating what that looks like. So that Thomas Massey race, there's been polling that has come out and it's showing a real generational divide in support for the Iran war. And I think that what you're seeing is that people that would be considered baby boomers and older, they're fully supportive of the war, even though I honestly do not think that Trump made a proper justification to do this to the American people. And I certainly don't think he's made, because it's a moving goalpost. So it's like, oh, we'll be out of there in 2 weeks. We'll be out of there in 4 weeks. We're like 80 days later. We're still there. I don't see us getting out of there. And I just don't think he's made the proper justification for it. And I don't think he's made the justification for people going and filling up their gas tanks and paying like $5 a gallon for gas. And then telling people, well, this is the most critical thing because Iran can never have a nuclear bomb. Oh, okay. But were they really, was this really impending? Like it was going to happen right now, that it had to happen at this second? And from the political perspective, in my mind, I'm just thinking, could this have happened after the midterms? Did it have to happen right now? Because if you look at kind of the downstream effects of this, oil prices are up, gas prices have skyrocketed. I think, I've told people on the show before, I grocery shop a lot. I can tell you prices are going up and it's noticeable. If you really think people are going to go and they're going to vote and they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is worth it, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, I really doubt it if they're feeling like they have to cut back on things that they actually want to be able to do. And it could even be worse than that. It could be that I don't know if I can afford the same amount of food as I could afford last week. That's how bad this could be. That's how much prices are going up. And I don't think he's made the justification. I don't even think he's really trying to make the justification, unless this justification works for people that are in his orbit now. Because I actually don't think that a lot of the people in his orbit are actually people that I would consider to be MAGA at all. They strike me as, it's like people that were never Trumpers now are all around him. So his biggest cheerleader is Lady Lindsey Graham. It's not who I would never consider to be MAGA. He's a neocon. All he ever wants to do is run around bombing everything and starting wars everywhere. So if he's supporting you, that is not a good sign. Like, if anything, you should be on Lindsey Graham should not like you, because all he ever wants to do is go and start wars. Mr. Producer says the Iran war may be more about China than anything else. I've heard that, but that's kind of like 5-dimensional chess, like that argument to me. And that's not the justification that Trump has given. See, like Venezuela, if you notice, like I haven't criticized Venezuela because that was a clean op. They went in, they took out Maduro. He didn't, if you notice, Trump didn't get involved in like real regime change, meaning he just let Maduro's vice president get into power, and it was kind of done. And from my understanding, now the oil that Venezuela pumps is now coming to U.S. refineries, and that's a good thing. So if you look at that, was actually like a successful, clean operation. Very well done. This Iran one, though, it doesn't strike me as being on that same level at all. It just seems like it's dragging out, and I don't see an ending to it. And I don't know if other people see an ending to it. I'm not seeing it. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which seems, I guess it's only like 12 miles wide. And so what do we do with that? How do you fix that? I don't know. And it makes me kind of nervous because, I don't want it to be that we end up in a forever war. That's one of the reasons why I voted for Trump. I'm not interested in forever wars. I'm not interested in expending our money and our people trying to go and fix the Middle East. I'm sorry. It's just not, it does not interest me. I would rather us focus on the home front. That was the whole point of this administration. And I feel like this has become a massive distraction from the issues at home. And in fact, it's made everything worse. So, and I'm just telling you, like Republicans who are acting like it's not going to have any impact are flying blind because people are talking about this. They're not happy about it. They didn't vote for it. And like I said, there's a generational gap. So if you look at the baby boomers seem to be, and I don't like to attack the baby boomers because I think we can actually turn them more towards like a America First agenda. Like certainly my parents are much more towards that America First agenda, but it takes effort. And for some reason, I think a lot of them watch Fox News and still think it's credible and don't realize that it's just like controlled opposition. And they, but I think it requires the children, so like your Gen X millennial children, to go and talk to their parents and like have those conversations to try to make them see what the problem is and get them to help be a part of the solution, which means voting out a lot of these people. But that's me. That's what I think. Okay, so Utah Politico says spicy. Oh, Utah Politico. I talked about your book a few minutes ago. Marsgate. Actually, if you're on and you're listening, it would be great if you'd come on maybe next week and we could talk about your book if you want to come on and talk about it. So Marsgate 8655. Turkey has been playing dirty for 20 years. Oh yeah, I've heard. Okay. Let me see. I have one more thing on here, so let me see what I have. Give me 1 second. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so then just on this Iran thing a little bit more, there's this idea of the war powers resolution, right? And so here, first of all, you can see Lindsey Graham. Here's part of this. Oh, okay. Utah Politico says you can call in. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So I have not read your book yet. So I was planning on reading it, and then I can probably ask you questions. But if you want to call in, you can call in today, and we could talk about it a little bit, because I think I know enough about what happened to be able to ask you questions. So if you want to call in, feel free. We can have a discussion about it. But Cernovich actually posted this about doing an Iran war powers resolution, and I think he's right. So let me just add, though, Lindsey Graham's expectations here are completely unrealistic. So he says no enrichment, American control of the approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz with without interference from Iran. Iran must abandon its long-range ballistic missile program in any effort to develop a nuclear weapon. Iran must end its support for all terrorist proxies in the region. So these expectations are so high that you could never reach a deal with them. So if you say, for example, you want to have American control of this approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium. First of all, I don't even know if there's 900 pounds or not, but it is likely that that has been dispersed. Who knows where in Iran? It may not even be in the country anymore. I don't know. But I guess you should get control of whatever there is. But the problem is, I don't think the country is being centrally controlled anymore because we kind of destroyed the power structure. So, okay, you can try to find that. No enrichment. I guess like, it doesn't make sense to me that they would want to have a nuclear power plant, for example. But let's say they wanted a nuclear power plant for whatever, to be able to produce electricity. I mean, I would think the way you would handle that is you say, well, you could have an American company come and build it, and we'll control the uranium, but you guys can't. There's probably ways around this, but I just think Lindsey Graham wants to go to war. Like, if he could get World War III to happen, he would get super excited, like really excited. And he'd be like, ready to go. But I do think, though, at this point, because of the way the president has handled it, if you guys can hear that, that's my dog trying to itch himself. He's got a cone of shame on. He does not like it. Okay, but here's the thing. So Congress actually has a role to play here. And I know some people argue that the War Powers Act is not constitutional. That's fine. But ultimately, Congress actually has to fund the Iran war. They do have a role to play here, and they should be playing it. It's time, and it's been, this is generally Congress should be playing a role when it comes to sending our men and women to war to fight another country. I just think that should be a standard, because you should have oversight. You should be making sure that the goals are clear. And I understand Trump is not going to tell us everything that's happening. That makes sense, right? Like from an OPSEC perspective. But Congress can be involved because they have the clearances and stuff to be able to do that and to make sure that they think this is going in the right direction. And they should play that role. That's their job. And we elect them. So if our congressmen here are playing that role, that's helpful, because there will be Utahns that will be sent over to fight Iran. And I want to make sure that there is a plan to resolve this whole thing and bring our troops home. But the ultimate goal of let's bring them all home and get out of the Middle East so this is not a problem for us. Probably never going to happen, but for what it's worth. Okay, so I'd like to see that vote, because I actually think what you're going to find out is that most of the Democrats also support this war. Even the ones that are talking a big game about how, we shouldn't be there, blah, blah, blah. They will vote for the War Powers Resolution. There'll be very few that don't. Call in. Your Jack's on here. And why? Yeah, Jackie, go ahead and call in. I'm ready for you whenever. This would actually be a good time. So let's see. But while she's getting called in, I will just say we'll do a little. We'll talk about tech company regulation. This is something that I believe has had to happen for a long time, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but in the LA race, the mayoral race, Google changed the maps of I think it's called Pacific Palisades, right? It used to show that the neighborhood was burned down. And then they changed it because they're trying to impact the mayoral election there. And this is not the first time that they've done that. These companies are all the tech companies are exactly the same. They use their algorithms, they use their power to impact elections. And that is the thing that I would like to see stopped. And we need to regulate tech companies to do that. I don't know. Okay, I think we have Jackie on. Alex says, I commented you are a boomer. Huh? Someone deleted my comment? Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't delete your comment. Okay. Okay, we'll bring on Jackie. So let me stop sharing for a minute, and then we'll have a. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to the show. Do you wanna start by telling people who you are?
Yes. Okay. So I run the Kearns Community 411. I spend all of my time trying to inform my community.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, talk about the Salt Lake County Council and this recent trip to Hawaii so people can kind of understand what's going on here.
So the trip to Hawaii was supposed to be like a governance of counties. It's a conference, and Lori Stringham and I believe Sheldon also went on it, and they're both on their way out. So it just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't make any fiscal sense why outgoing members are going. And I emailed Jenny Wilson, and she actually got back to me like an hour ago.
Oh,
And
okay.
she avoided that part. She didn't answer that. She just said it was her, and she's going because she's dealt with natural disaster before, and that's what it was focused around.
Okay.
She didn't. She didn't want to talk about any other members that went.
All right. Do you know all the members that went?
I'm not sure. I know Lori Stringham. I think
Mhm.
Sheldon. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
And I'm not sure who else. I know Natalie Pinkney also, and she is
Yeah.
she has not responded to me.
Okay. I know that she went because there were posts about it with her, and she did respond. Do we have a sense of how much money this costs taxpayers?
I can't say for sure how much, but I had the website pulled up. I don't know if I can do it again.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much it is, but
What's the website?
let me see if I can.
If you look at the bottom here, there's a little screen with an arrow on top. I think you can share there.
Let me hold on. Western Interstate Region.
Okay.
I don't know if I can share it.
Do you want to send it to me?
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom, there's a little private chat. Do you see that? You can, if you put it there. Oh, is it the 2026 Western Interstate Region Conference?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Here you go.
Okay. That had some pricing listed on it.
Oh, really? Where at?
If you just scroll down,
Okay.
everything I think is all on the one page.
Well, hold on. Before we scroll down, oh, that's so pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must have been really hard to go there on taxpayer dime.
Yeah. I mean, really, if I was Lori, I have nothing to lose at this point. Of course, I would say yes to going to Hawaii.
Okay, let's see. So then discounted hotel rooms were $349 a night before taxes. Let's see here. Who should I contact? Okay. So I guess maybe, do you have thoughts on, okay, well, hold on. One question is there a reason why they couldn't have done this on Zoom?
Well, that would make more sense to me, especially considering they're asking all of us to pay higher taxes and, tighten our belts, but you can go to Hawaii? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I've noticed that there hasn't been coverage of this in the press in terms of the county. Like this has been more on social media. I haven't seen it in like the Trib or the Deseret News yet in terms of that kind of additional coverage about them going on this trip.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you guys learn about the trip?
I don't know if I should say who told me, but a little birdie told me. And
Okay.
they found it on X.
Okay, got it. Well, I know that I think do you go to the Salt Lake County Council meetings every week?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do watch them on WebEx almost every week.
Okay. And so you're one of, I know that there's kind of a group of, I think they're mostly women. So I'll say there's a group of ladies who have been tracking the Salt Lake County Council meetings and putting out a lot more information about it. If people want to help with that, is there someone that they should contact? Like, is there an organizer for it?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you have any other kind of thoughts for people to think about on this issue?
Well, I mean, if you think about they all want a salary increase as well. And they've all responded to me except for Ross and Natalie Pinkney about the salary increase. So they're all of them have said they wouldn't take one, except for Dia avoided the actual question and said it was a private conversation that shouldn't be in the public.
Okay.
And then Gyro also didn't answer the question directly. But they all want salary increases and they're going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Our tax money.
Yeah. Do you know what the salary increase proposal is?
I don't know what exactly. I believe I've seen two different numbers, 150 and 180. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty big.
And right now, I think, do they make about 60 before benefits?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're talking about like doubling to tripling their salary for a part-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So Alex Thompson says, hand pink waving, I'll take a salary increase. I guess the comments are people would take that increase if they were on the council. So I'm sure they're all going to support it when it comes out.
Yeah. I mean, Lori has said she won't take it, and she responded to me in the comments. She didn't respond to me by email.
Okay.
But she just lost her election, so I wanted to get her response before and after.
Yeah.
And she still says she won't.
Okay. Well, that's good. At least that's maybe she realized why she lost her election.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it looks like there's a lot of potential news coming out of the county council. So we'll look for more developments from you in terms of, it would be good. I think people would like to know the total amount. I think people would like to know all the members who flew to Hawaii for this conference and the total amount of money that was spent on it from taxpayers, especially considering that we just had a 15% property tax hike.
Yeah.
So if you could let me know.
I think everybody should email and ask them directly.
Okay.
Anybody, if that bothers anybody, send them an email and make them answer.
Okay. Do you know if they took their spouses with them or significant others, whatever they have?
I couldn't get an answer out of Jenny. She wouldn't give me any more information other than why she was there.
Okay. 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 Well, where can people find you, Jackie?
I guess on X I'm Jax, but on Facebook I'm Jackie Martin, and you can also look up Kearns Community 411.
Okay.
That's
cool.
it.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Okay, I think that she's. It looks like we got freeze, Mr. Producer. Oh, looks like okay. Hold on. Looks like Utah Politico might be on. So, and we'll talk about. Okay. It's what Siggate. Siggate is the name of the book. Okay, you might have to fix whatever's going on with my thing. Let's see here. So we're waiting for that. I can talk for a minute if I can figure out. Oh, here's what I was going to say. So, I was talking about this map issue, right? And what Google did is I think the neighborhood's called Pacific Palisades. It's where Spencer Pratt lived with his wife and kids until it burned down due to bad management, right? So they replaced the map with the old map. So the map actually showed the burnouts, the empty lots and stuff. And so they replaced it with this map on the right, if you can see that. That's the old map before it burned down. And I think they're doing that to try to impact the election because it looks like Spencer Pratt is actually picking up some momentum and has some potential to actually make it to the next phase, because California has a jungle primary. So everybody of all parties runs in one primary and the top two go to the general election. So typically in most of these big cities in California, 2 Democrats will move forward, right? And so there's not really a Republican choice past the primary. But if Pratt actually makes it into the general election, he has a shot at winning it. And so now you can see how Google is trying to impact that race. Okay, we have Utah Politico on. Go ahead and you can put him through, Mr. Producer, because I can come back to this. It'll be a little longer of a conversation because I want to talk about how we should regulate tech companies. But let me get his book up. And I can't hear you, Mr. Producer. Okay, so it's called Utah Siggate. That is the book. Okay, you there, Mr. Producer? All right, he has to exit and come back. So he's having a mic issue. I guess so. As we were saying earlier, though, this book is about that signature, or I will say, how Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson stole the 2024 GOP primary. It is my view that that's where this all started. They had to collect, and actually that election is the best example of election fraud that I can think of. So, and that's what makes it so great. Hold on.
Goud, can you hear us?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Can
you hear me too? I have Utah Politico on. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I saw that you came out with the book, Utah Siggate. I guess maybe tell us how you wrote or developed the book.
Originally, it was an article I put out a few months back, and the article I kept editing and kept getting longer with more information you guys kept putting out. And it got to a point where it was over 6,000 words, but it was still slightly deformed, I would say. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, and it was too complicated for people to read.
Okay.
So eventually got to the point where I was just like, okay, you know what? People aren't really paying attention to this article. The only way they're going to pay attention is if I write it out like a book and make it much easier for people to read and understand.
Okay.
So I ended up writing it 10 different times,
Oh,
and
wow.
just
Okay.
kept adding and removing chapters. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I just need to commit to something and just keep it. So
Okay.
that's how it was made. And then how I made it was there's a kid on X, Carson, he's been talking about AI and entering it all, and it just comes out like a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I did the same thing. Plugged it all into AI, and it just came out as absolute trash. And no coherent. So I instructed the AI to build me a foundation that I could work with, that I understood, and
Mhm.
I will edit it because I've already read everything, all the case files, so I know what it would be wrong. After it built me a
Okay.
foundation, I went through and edited it and crafted the story and put it all together.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I just needed a foundation to work with.
Okay. Then, how long is the book?
So, it's roughly about, see, the latest one edition of it is, I think, 17 chapters, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Epilogue. Sorry, I'm looking at it. 17 chapters with an epilogue after.
Okay. About how many pages is it?
It's less than 90. I mean, I got it over to 100
Ooh,
at
that's
one
a-
point, but it was becoming way too repetitive. And
Okay.
I was like, well, people just need to hear the core part. They don't
Okay.
need to be told over and over again what they've already been told.
Yeah. So then I guess I should have asked you
In
this.
a way that the average person. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so people probably want to know what the book is about. I'm assuming they already know, but Utah Sig Gate. What should they expect when they open this book?
So, SIG gate, it means signature gate, kind of like Watergate and all those other gates.
Mhm.
But essentially, in 2024, Cox and Henderson. Now, the primary culprit is Henderson because she controls the elections. They used fraudulent signatures to get on the ballot. Now, when somebody says fraudulent signatures, everyone's just going to blow you off. But they use that term in their own documents. They found out early on that they had a significant amount of fraudulent signatures. And the person that was auditing them, or not auditing them, but checking them, was the Davis County clerk. The day Cox declared, he had enough signatures, is the same day they sent an email over to Henderson, the lieutenant governor, and said, hey, there's a lot of fraudulent signatures that need to be checked. So instead of putting it in a system called VICAP, they illegally sent it to her office, the lieutenant governor, for her to check her own work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they checked it and found that in this particular packet, over 94% of the signatures were fraudulent. So they sent that packet over to the AG's office, which opened an investigation that supposedly didn't exist for 2 years, called AG 24-170. And it involved a woman going out and hunting down the names of all these people that were on the fraudulent ballots or signatures. And it goes through the process of finding all these people that straight up lied and hid it. no, instead of course correcting and having Cox go out and get enough signatures, they instead hid all this and figured, oh, well, he doesn't really need enough signatures. We'll just stuff the system and with the fraudulent ones and make sure he gets enough signatures that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they did.
Okay.
And this goes to all the people. And it also reflects on towards the end that none of these people were ever fired or let go. In fact, a lot of these people involved got promoted.
Yep.
and got hired or got reelected. And none of them were ever held accountable. And then when you go out and ask like the legislation to come in and investigate, they don't touch it at all. And it's like, well, these are actual crimes that occurred. So the only thing that really can happen is if the feds come in and investigate it.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm wondering. I was going to say that. So you talked about how they didn't have enough signatures, and why didn't they go and just have Governor Cox collect more? I'm just wondering what you think about this. My theory is that they were actually having trouble getting people to sign his petitions because people don't like him, and so that's what kind of made it so they, even if they went out and tried again to get more signatures, they would have struggled because he was very unpopular at the time, and people were kind of sick of him, especially the types of voters you would want to get to sign the petitions. And so at least that's kind of my thinking on it. Were you able to kind of glean any kind of theory as to why they didn't just go out and collect more signatures?
My theory is it would have, in addition to yours, I kind of agree the same way, but also the fact that it would have cost him a bit more. And I don't think he had that much cash at that time. Because he was already in over 300K in just signature gathering. And plus, I think they ran out of time. So instead of actually going out and collecting more like they should have before they ran out of time, they just stuffed it with the fraudulent.
Interesting. Okay. I've also thought, and I don't know if you have thoughts on this, but
go ahead, sorry.
It's my view that this is not the first time this has happened, especially with these statewide races. I think when you're talking about like a smaller House race, it's actually pretty likely that in those types of situations, the person could get the signatures or the minimum number required to qualify. But all the statewide races require 28,000 verified signatures from Republican voters. I think that's actually a challenge. And so I think because everything happened so smoothly, the way they kind of went through this in terms of covering it up and everything, it makes me think this is not the first time that a candidate has not had the signatures they needed and still been put on that primary ballot.
I definitely believe that it is not the first time that it's happened. I don't know how far back it goes because a lot of those records are destroyed. It'll probably happen again in 2028 or 2026 this year. The thing is, if you look at the auditor's report, the state auditor, Tina Cannon, she came out with the signatures that have been audited, a list, and she covered up all the names and just assigned them letters and numbers. Well, if you look at the total numbers of everyone that was supposed to hit 28,000 signatures, one person did. Out of all the ones that they audited, only one person did. I think out of like 9 people.
Okay.
That means all those people that didn't get enough signatures got elected in some capacity.
Okay.
Only Tina knows exactly their names and who they are.
Interesting.
She's been very cagey about revealing that information.
Okay. Huh.
And then there's other things going on that I added into my book. Like, for example, there's a case going on, and I'm talking to the whistleblower about it, but he I don't want to reveal who he is, but so I don't want to say too much. But basically, he got a hold of voter rolls in Tooele County, and he was looking through the voter rolls, and there's a bunch of fake addresses. They're clearly fake in Rush Valley, and like there's decimals in them. Like there's no such thing as these addresses existing, but yet they're on the voting rolls as voters. They have voted. So
wow.
I've been trying to get a hold of voter rolls with Salt Lake or other counties to verify that if they have the same issue. And a data scientist, and I talk about this in my book, a data scientist ran it through the numbers, and it's a mathematical equation. It's also happening in Texas and New York, the same equation.
Okay.
And I can't have the term for it. I can't. It goes with the Funhouse app. I was talking to him about it, and I said, the only thing, because whoever it is doing these changes for these fake addresses would have to have read or write ability in all these states. Well, the only thing that these states all have in common is Eric.
Oh. Okay.
That the only way that all these could have been changed is through Eric.
Okay.
Magically, they had one person in all the departments of each state run the same algorithm, but I don't see how that's not very likely. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I will say that, okay, so Mr. Producer wants me to tell you guys, Eric is the Electronic Registration Information Center. It's I guess like a collaboration or an agreement between different states. It's a nonprofit, the different states, including Utah, are a member of, and they share voter registration information to help. They say it's to help update voter rolls, but there's a little bit more to it. The thing I was going to ask you about, though, is, when you start getting into voter roll stuff and then algorithms getting altered, I do think these arguments, it becomes harder to be able to convince people about the issues with these systems. There's a lot of voters that'll just stop listening. And like, how do you speak to those types of people?
Honestly, the reason why I put it towards the end of the book is because it's a little harder to understand. You kind of have to guide people into it gently, because if you just thrust on all this on people, they lose interest or don't believe it. So in my book, I painstakingly made it so it guides people into this gently, and the more serious stuff gets towards the end.
Okay.
But it does call out people. It does call out a lot of people. Like, I didn't hold back on names.
Okay.
I call out everybody as I could think of.
So for example, I assume. Well, so for example, I assume you call out like Lonnie Pearson, you call out Ryan Cowley, well, obviously Lieutenant Governor Henderson, Daniel Burton. Just a few. Just name a few.
They're all called out. I even did one on Mike Lee. How, like, Mike Lee, I don't think is the worst person out there, but I always have to point out that every convention he goes to, he wants to get rid of SB4 and quit the signatures. But yet, every time he's pretty much running for office, like in 2022, and then in 2018, he spent like I think 200,000 or 180,000 on signatures.
Yeah.
But my point is he does what he preaches against. So
I see what you're saying.
if
Yeah.
you're really against it, then why are you spending $500,000 on it?
Right. Right.
And it's become a cottage industry for people with money.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Essentially, how I can explain it to people is they claimed it at the beginning that having the signature path would allow anybody to run for office and not have to go through a party. Like you could say, I'm Republican, but I don't want to win at convention because they're too extreme. And I can just go out and get some signatures and run on the Republican Party. Well, it turned into higher thresholds of signatures and a whole bunch of cottage industry, like signature gatherers popped up that says, hey, we'll gather the signatures for you if you pay us so much money. Because if you think about it, how hard would it be to gather 28,000 signatures for a state office with a grassroots campaign and not paying for signatures? Nearly impossible.
It is. It's impossible.
So you have to pay signature gatherers if you want to use that path. And then the path itself makes convention for any party in this state useless. Because even if they lose at convention, or like how the state party says, the top two people go to primary. In this case, I can just say, you know what? I never have to go to convention. I don't have to go meet people. I can just pay to get on the ballot and then buy a bunch of billboards and never have to meet a single person in person and get elected.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
it literally takes basement elections to the next level.
Okay. Okay, so just to close out, it sounds like the book is something that will be updated as more information develops.
Yeah, I'm hoping so in the future that as more information comes out, more cases, hopefully, and hopefully the information doesn't get destroyed this year from the ballots. I'll probably have to do in the future a part 2.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much that keeps coming out. The further you dig, the more information that comes out.
Right.
And I honestly don't think we'll ever know the full truth.
Right. No, I think you're right.
I think too many files.
Yeah.
I think too much has been destroyed already. Like these guys are idiots, but at the same time, they just using the law to their advantage to destroy the evidence against them.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, where can people find you and where can people find the book?
You can find me on X under Utah Politico or at the JT Show 2024.
Okay.
Because the old account got hacked. And then the book is on Amazon only, and it's called Utah SIG Gate, SIG Gate for Signature Gate, and by JT Show.
Okay. Well, cool. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
And if people want to know any questions or want to know more about parts of the book, they can always reach out to me on X and just ask. I reply to almost everybody.
Okay, awesome. That is
This is how I got him on the show. I just messaged him on X, and here he is.
We love it. All right, cool. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Yep.
Politico, you've done well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I encourage people to buy the book. I'll probably buy it. I mean, I'm pretty involved with the lawsuit and stuff and what's been going on, but I was listening to one of his articles, and honestly, it was telling it in a way I thought that was very relatable. I was enjoying it. Oh, hi. Here, you guys. I don't know if you guys have met Ricky here. Hold on. Let me say hi. This is one of my dogs. Here, come on. This is Ricky. Everybody see Ricky? Say hi, Ricky. Anyway, she just got back from a little vacation in Montana, and you can see she's very happy to be back. Okay, there you go. Get down. Anyway, it was really interesting. I think it was. It tells the story in a way that's compelling, which I enjoy. So I would encourage people to get it. Like I said, I'll get the book, and I'll report back as well. Especially, it's not very long. It's only 90 pages. So I think that I've probably read more pages of stuff. So to see it like kind of compressed down and told in a way that maybe is digestible would be nice to see. So yeah, I was talking about tech companies before we started that. So what I want to talk about is we've had a problem for a while where the tech companies use their algorithms and their products to impact elections. And there have been allegations for years, for example, that Google actually takes emails sent by Republican candidates and sends them to spam in the Gmail system while sending Democrat emails into the inbox. And so this is just there, there was a FTC claim filed about this. There was a lawsuit as well, because in 2022, so this would have been when Biden was president, the RNC sued Google over its spam filtering practices. Google said in response that the RNC never participated in a pilot program that let political emails bypass the Gmail spam filter. Now, I'll just say, I don't know the facts of this, but I feel like based on what I know about tech companies, they probably forgot to tell the RNC about it. But a U.S. District Court judge granted Google's motion to dismiss the lawsuit in August 2023, ruling that Google's email service is not a common carrier under the law and that its filtering is protected under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The RNC filed an amended complaint, but the judge found no evidence of illegal conduct and dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice. The RNC then appealed it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Then the Federal Election Commission, and this is in January of 23, so this will be before Trump won, rejected a related RNC complaint that alleged Gmail spam filtering amounted to illegal in-kind contributions made by Google to Biden for president and other Democrat candidates. The Federal Commission found no reason to believe that Google made prohibited in-kind corporate contributions and said that a study cited by Republicans does not make any findings as to the reasons why Google's spam filter appears to treat Republican and Democrat campaign emails differently. Isn't that weird? I guess So it's an admission that the emails are being treated differently, but we have no idea why. And you saw this. See, I actually think that Section 230 needs to be repealed. It basically gives the tech companies a complete shield, a liability shield, and they can't be sued. So you saw this during the pandemic where Google would filter results to get certain types of, like if you looked up treatments for COVID, you would only get certain things. It would tell you that ivermectin was horse paste, things like that. And then they would also defame people. So Facebook, if you posted something that did not go along with the accepted narrative about COVID, they would put little disclaimers on your comments saying, oh, like this is misinformation, that type of stuff, which I think is defamatory, but they are protected because of Section 230. And it's been my view for a while that we actually need to repeal Section 230. And the Republicans should have done this when they got the majority in the House, the majority in the Senate, and the presidency. These are the types of long-term fixes that they should have actually tackled right away, because these cause long-term damage to Republicans' ability to win an election. And you're seeing it in LA where they're altering what the map looks like to be able to help the Democrats. That's the type of stuff that needs to stop. Now, I'll just add that on top of all of this, keep in mind that these companies collect all of your data and then they use it to advertise to you as one part. So they make a ton of money off advertising, but they also use it to change how you think about issues. And so what you'll find, I found this during the pandemic. So I would be looking at stuff online, like videos, and I think I had TikTok for a little while. And I noticed that if I went through and looked at videos about an issue, that my way of thinking about it would change. And I had to be conscious about, oh, wait a minute, like that's not because that's what I believe. That's like the video and the messages are impacting how I am thinking about something. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, because it's aimed at, because what the tech companies do is they take all the information about you, they create kind of a virtual recreation of you. And then they're able to test different types of information that they give you to see how it changes the way you think. And they use that to move people to the left, to move people to vote Democrat. And so I just think, I wish the Republicans would have done more to tackle this. I think the problem is a lot of them actually get money from the big tech companies, and so they won't do anything. But it should have been things like banning surveillance capitalism. And I think that's beginning to come up a little bit, because it's not only now that they're using it to advertise to you, but they're changing the prices on stuff. I saw a video recently where this couple, they searched for plane tickets in their house. And then when they went to the library and searched for the same tickets, the prices were like 1/3 of what was showing up at their house, because they had tracked that these people were trying to travel somewhere, and they're pricing the tickets based on where they wanted to go. And so, like we should have banned that type of capitalism. I think we should make it so people can opt out of their algorithms that are meant to actually change how you think. And then also back to the data centers, I think you should oppose their data centers. These are not good companies. They don't like us. They don't hire conservatives. They don't like Americans. They love H-1Bs and open borders. They want to change how you think about stuff. These are not good companies, and I don't think that we should be actively trying to support really any type of their initiatives. There should be no special favors to these people at all. Treat them the way they treated us, and they continue to treat us. Treat them the same. No special favors. Okay, so that was that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this will be corruption in the Utah GOP, which I think is actually a big problem. So this article came out today in the Tribune, and it talks about how Stuart Adams, who is the totally corrupt. Oh, just on a side note here, the Tribune is now free. Alex Thompson says special favors for everyone. Yeah, except the normal people. Everyday people, we never get any special favors. We just have to struggle to make it, while all the connected people get their special favors. It's really a bunch of BS. So the Tribune actually is now free, which is good. I guess it's good, whatever. But what I think is kind of fascinating is that because I'm a veteran, so it only cost me $30 a year, and now I'm like, can I get a refund of the credit for what was left for the year? I didn't know you were gonna make it free. Okay, so this is Stuart Adams. For those of you who don't know, he is totally corrupt. In this article, they said that he is in a primary election, and I would encourage people to vote him out. He's on the MIDA board, so that's the Military Installation Development Authority. They're the ones who approved that big, huge data center for Mr. Wonderful in Box Elder County. And what happened is that after the Republican convention on May 1st, there were companies that had business before MIDA. I think it's 7 companies that donated $140,000 to a political action committee that he runs. So we'll get back to this in a second, but just so you know, you're watching and listening to the Goud Crowd on KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. We're live on X, Rumble, YouTube, and our website, kmmu.org. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And then Alex Thompson says, I only watch this podcast for the comments, and I must say they have not disappointed today. I think you're the only person. You've made the most comments out of everybody. So I can see why you're not disappointed. Okay. So these donations came in, and what's interesting is they actually came in from businesses that benefit from a different MIDA project. Okay, and this MIDA project is in, I don't know what is going on with my screen here. Okay, it's kind of weird. Marsgate 8655 says hookers and blow goes to Utah. Oh God. Okay, so let me pull this up. This is a different article, but there's this huge ski resort in I think it's in Deer Valley, and this was developed by MIDA. And so, so it's called the Military Installation Development Authority, right? And so I guess maybe the question is, how do you develop a ski resort with MIDA, right? And I can tell you, so I'm in the Guard, and this ski resort was developed. And so it's considered part of the morale and welfare portion of like military life. So if you are a member, if you're retired, I think if you're a current member of the Guard, Reserves, active duty, if you're a DoD civilian, you can get a discount to go and stay at that resort. And I think for the ski passes as well. Although I looked it up and I did not think it was very cheap with the discount. But I guess that's just the reality of it. So there were 7 donors who benefit from this ski resort donated to his leadership PAC on May 1st after he did not get past 60% at convention and ended up in a primary race. So interestingly, this it's called Deer Valley's East Village. Actually has thousands of residential units, hotels, retail development, roads, utilities, and ski infrastructure near the Jordanelle Reservoir. So it says, while Deer Valley Resort operates the ski resort portion of the development, MIDA has played a major role in financing public infrastructure tied to the broader project. The agency budgeted roughly $274 million for the East Village infrastructure improvements. Now, Senator Adams responded to this claim, and he said, the claims being circulated regarding political contributions and project approvals are inaccurate, Adams said. No donations from fundraising events or any other donations are connected to the data center, and it is all publicly and properly disclosed. Okay, this wording is very specific. The donations are from businesses benefiting from the ski resort, not from the data center. So he's saying, oh, there's no donations from the data center. Okay, we know that. But they are donations coming in from businesses benefiting from MIDA, of which you are on the board. So clearly there's a connection here, despite his protestations to the opposite. Campaign and PAC contributions are disclosed and are entirely separate from any policy decisions. Oh, sure, whatever. You know, the reality is this is pure corruption, and he knows the wording that he's using here. It's likely he has a professional who drafted that statement for him, and they said that specifically about the data center. There's no donations from the data center because they know the donations came from businesses benefiting from the ski resort that was also approved by MIDA that he approved. I think this is crony capitalism, and it's how corruption becomes endemic in states like Utah. So the politicians, they pick the winners, they give them special tax breaks, they fund the infrastructure, they give them land use favors, and then in return, they get campaign donations. And so now he's got $140,000 in his leadership PAC because of the MIDA connection. And look, the best way to handle this right now is for people to vote for his opponent and to kick him out of office. So this guy, he is corrupt to the core. I've had multiple representatives from the Utah House tell me about how Stuart Adams controls completely what legislation comes to the House. That he will actually call House reps up if they change anything about something that he wants to pass, or if it's going to impact one of his donors, and he will shut them down and threaten their ability to pass any bills whatsoever. So if you're voting for Stuart Adams, you're voting for someone who is corrupt and who abuses his office. And I'll just add that on top of that, okay, and this is like for my LDS friends, this guy changed the laws about rape in Utah to benefit his rapist granddaughter. So when his granddaughter was in high school, she was 18, she raped a 13-year-old. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, well, it's a girl raping a boy. It's not a big deal or whatever. It is a big deal because if you read the articles about it, the 13-year-old boy is traumatized because he was going to wait until marriage. And, you know, they did this thing, and obviously you can't reverse it. But instead of having his granddaughter deal with the consequences of being an 18-year-old adult, she was an adult, who raped a 13-year-old, Stuart Adams actually wrote a letter to the court to support a light sentence for his granddaughter. He also had the law changed so that if you are 18 in high school when you rape someone who, you know, you do statutory rape, I guess, but the 13 is actually not statutory rape. I think it's too young for that. That it actually, you are treated as a minor, all for his granddaughter. So like, if you feel like there's like a moral issue there, you shouldn't vote for this guy. He abuses office to benefit his personal family member. And let me add that the letter that he sent to the court, I emailed him multiple times and asked for a copy of it because you cannot get it on, there's a program called Exchange where you can go and get court documents. You can't get that letter because it's been classified as private. And I think that's normal for a criminal case. I don't do criminal law, but I assume it's normal. And so I don't know what that letter said. Like, what did he say in the letter? We should know, but he won't give it to us because I suspect that he abused his office so the judge would give his granddaughter a lighter sentence. So I would just say, vote this guy out. You have a great opportunity right now to get him out of office. He's corrupt. He's a disgusting person and should not be in public office. Jensen says, my state senator sponsored that bill. Oh, who's your state senator? Okay. Oh, God, is it Todd Weiler? That sounds like a Todd Weiler special. I just can't remember who wrote it. Okay, so that's one example of corruption in the Republican Party in Utah. And my theory on this is that if you have a supermajority state, probably going either way, where there's a lot of elections that are not competitive, that you'll end up with corruption if you don't do a good job of weeding out corrupt individuals as you find them. We don't do a good job of weeding out corrupt individuals. There's multiple reasons for that. You know, some of it is I do think there's an LDS piece to this where A lot of LDS people think that LDS elected officials are just good people, and so it takes a little bit more to, I guess I would say, educate them about how corrupt some of these people are, because you're having to believe that these people that you normally think are good are bad people. And so there's that. And then I also think like the information is that the press is they want access to these elected officials, and so they don't report these negative things about them. Oh, Jensen says it's Kurt Collymore. Oh man, I can't. That's disappointing. Okay, so then the next example of corruption in the Utah GOP that we haven't taken care of yet is Governor Cox himself with his family business. So, so Cox became the lieutenant governor in 2013, and it was after a very short stint in the legislature. I think whoever was the lieutenant governor before, then I feel like it was Greg Bell, resigned, and then Herbert picked Cox to fill him in. And I suspect there's probably more to this that I don't know about, because this is like way before I lived in Utah, and I just assume somehow the powers that be wanted current Governor Cox, to be governor one day, and so they slotted him to that lieutenant governor thing. So since Cox became lieutenant governor, his family their business has massively expanded, and it's a business called Centercom. It's like a internet company based in Fairview, Utah. So there's their little building. And he was an executive at this company before he became lieutenant governor. And so what's kind of, if you go and look at his bio, I looked at it before, it's all really vague stuff. It's like, some of it I don't believe, right? So they'll say things like, he got into Harvard Law School, but he turned it down so that he could go to, I think it's maybe William and Mary Law School instead, so he could be with his high school sweetheart or something. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if you get into Harvard Law School, you go to Harvard Law School. That's like one of the best law schools in the country. Are you kidding me? Especially unless you're going to stay in state, right? So if that story would be more believable to me if they said he got into BYU and he got into Harvard, but he wanted to go to BYU because, he's LDS, he loves BYU, he has a historic connection. 100% I would have bought that story. I do not buy the story that you went to William and Mary instead of going to, and I think it's William and Mary. You went to William and Mary Law School instead of going to Harvard. I just don't buy it. But that's me. That doesn't sound realistic to me. Mars Gate says, yes, Greg Bell. Oh, yeah. Okay, it was Greg Bell. So anyway, if you go through this article, though, it talks about how much that business has expanded since Governor Cox has become the governor, both lieutenant governor and governor. Their coverage area has expanded. The amount of government money they're getting has expanded. Revenues have expanded. And they try to make it sound like there's no connection between the two, but obviously there's a connection between the two. I mean, like, I don't think there couldn't be one. And I'm sorry, like, it's just hard for me to believe that your son, and because his dad runs the company, that your son is the governor, your revenues from government are massively expanding, but there's no connection between the two, including they have a contract with the U to provide them with internet services. So I think this is a type of corruption, though, that we're not getting a good handle on in the party. We're actually letting a lot of this fly under the radar, but people are beginning to notice. And as voters notice more and more, I think what you're going to have is a situation where you're going to start losing races to Democrats. Ultimately, the state will turn blue. And maybe some people want that because, here, let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is this woman. I'm going to do this, and she's probably going to say I'm trying to attack her, but whatever. So this is Alexis Entz. And she's like a prominent Republican down in southern Utah. And what she was what she was saying here, I thought was a little bit weird. So there's this woman, and let me just add, okay, look, messenger here, not perfect. Gabby Finlayson is a little bit crazy, I think. She's one of the people that came after me when I ran for county clerk. I think she was one of the people that was working at this Elevate Utah or something. There was some pack they set up. They sent out all these mailers about me and making me look crazy. One of them had me in the center of a conspiracy and with little, it's actually a really well done flyer, to be fair, but it's got me in the middle. And then it's got like all these, where they have the little pins and the strings and stuff. So it's like me connected to the crazy guy with the Viking horns on January 6th, with Rudy Giuliani, with President Trump. I will say the photo that they used was a good photo of me. So, to be fair about it. Anyway, so like I don't have there's no love lost between me and Gabby Finlayson, right? But what she did, and her, she's got another woman, and they run Elevate Utah. They did this, like they've been doing a lot of stuff on the data center. And one of the things they talked about is how Speaker Schultz has a bunch of land that it just happens to be near where the data center is proposed to be sited. So, and these are fair points, I think, to make. So Alexis, though, comes out and says, look, I just think she's getting a little bit out there, but she says, where's the media on this? Transparency goes both ways, Gabby. Turns out Gabby Finlayson's mom is a partner in Holland & Hart, the same firm with a major data center practice, conferences on outsourcing business to China. That makes Gabby's nothing to see here giggling response look a whole lot less honest, doesn't it? Is it possible that her mom's firm represents somebody with competing interests? And I guess, first of all, if her mom has a data center client, this actually doesn't even make any sense, because Gabby is trying to actually fight the data center. So she'll be fighting against her mother's interests. The problem I have with this is that there's no connection made between the mother and the daughter. And in fact, if anybody here has parents, a lot of times you don't agree with your parents on politics. So I just responded to her and I said, look, I'm a little bit puzzled by this, because if Alexis's husband, has a construction company. I don't have any problem with this. And I've never brought it up as like this is an issue or something like that. But certainly it could indicate motivations about why you might support certain candidates or certain issues. And so all I said here is like, you get upset when people attack your husband's business, but now you're attacking this woman's mother's business. And it just seems a little bit hypocritical. And then she said that Goud, my friend, sometimes I wonder which side you're on, but I'll address your concern. I did not appreciate Elevate Utah smearing Speaker Schultz with a big fat nothing burger. Maybe you feel there is nothing here. Did you feel the same about the Schultz accusation? Did you defend him? Lastly, if Phil and his crazy followers want to keep coming after my husband's business, have at it. I have nothing to hide. By all means, carry on. So then I said, look, I'm on the side that opposes corrupt backroom deals that enrich political insiders. Like, that's it. Red line. I'm not supporting you for that. And then I said, as for Schultz, I'll spend the same amount of time defending him as he did defending me when Governor Cox had his little cronies get me fired from my job and destroyed my organization. So none. I'm not spending any time on it. And by the way, he's the Speaker of the House. Well, I don't care. If someone attacks him, he should go and defend himself. That's not my job. Right? Like, he's a powerful politician, probably the third most powerful politician in the state, or fourth. That guy needs help defending himself? No, he doesn't. Now, I don't get anything out of it anyway. Like, if he gets knocked out or if I defend him, it is of no benefit to me. She may benefit from it because I think like she's a little bit more, invested in keeping the status quo. And that's my point here, is like, so there's differences. So to me, we need to actually clean out the Republican Party of all the corrupt actors. I just pointed out two to you. J. Stewart Adams, so the president of the Senate. And that's actually right now, there is a primary. The ballots will come out on June 2nd. The primary is on June 23rd. I am saying to people, please vote him out of office. He's corrupt. It's on us to clean it up, because otherwise what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to come and clean it up for us. And it's not going to be in a way that we like, because they're actually going to win races that we should be winning. That's how this works. And so like, that's a great opportunity to clean one of the most corrupt actors in Utah politics out. Get him out of there. Jensen says, clean out all the corrupt actors who would be left. I don't even want to think about that. It's sad. It's very sad. Hopefully there's somebody left. I mean, there'll be some people left. And I don't want to, I don't want to say that everybody in the legislature is corrupt. They're not all corrupt. There are a lot of corrupt people there. And so what we should be doing is we should be out there exposing them, getting them out of office before they damage the Republican Party and the brand, to the extent it already hasn't been damaged. I mean, Stuart Adams has done massive damage to the Republican brand. Mike Schultz, like, the whole thing looks bad, right? First of all, I'll just say, like, when he put out his statement about this, it was like, I'm a rancher. And I thought, I guess maybe you were a rancher at one point. Maybe you were primarily a rancher at one point. I don't think you are anymore. I think you're a developer. And if you go and look at his disclosures, he has a lot of different companies listed. I don't think that's normal for ranchers. I'm not a rancher, so I don't know, but I doubt a rancher has 30 different companies that they've registered. I think he has them because, he's a developer. And then he has a ranching business on the side. So that's how I would classify it. So when you come out and say, I'm a rancher, this is my ranch land, it just sounds dishonest to me. Obviously, he's not stupid. He's a developer. He probably has a sense of where things might go. And so it is possible he bought more land over there than he had before, because he thought something was going to go in. Maybe he didn't know if it was a data center or something else, but I don't buy it. And I think people should ask questions about it, and we're not obligated to defend him or anything. That's not my job. He can defend himself. In fact, he can pay people to do it. I'm sure he has lots of money. So, and then with Cox, I think we've taken care of, right? He will not be running for re-election. Instead, I think he'll go and he'll run for president. I know he's denying it, but he put out that book. I don't remember what it's called, whatever it's called, Disagree Better. Is that the name of his book? The one that he's going to disagree better. And so whatever his book is called, that's clearly a prelude to a presidential run. I think that'll crash and burn real fast, because a lot of those personality tics that Utahns are okay with, I don't think fly once you get out of the state. People are going to think he's a weirdo. And then we'll probably have, we'll have a governor's race. You can see that that's beginning to kind of shape up. I would just caution people. I think you should wait and see who runs and then what happens, because for some reason people want to already get started on this. I'm like, we have the 2026 elections coming up. Can we please focus on now? Let's handle the today. So like, let's get the primaries done. And I would say, knock out Stuart Adams. If you're in Box Elder County, I would knock out the 2 commissioners there. Davis County, knock out Brian McKenzie. Like, he's got to go. I don't even know anything about the other guy, but I'm 100% sure he's a better choice. Utah County, you gotta keep Aaron Davidson there. That's like the best clerk we have, which is why they're coming after him so hard. And when I say they, I mean the establishment. He's a block to them being able to cheat in Utah County. So you need to retain Aaron Davidson there. And then in CD3, I would say knock out Celeste Malloy. She's awful on every issue. She is in a primary, and her votes are still terrible. Every single vote. So the glyphosate, like recently, they had that amendment to the Farm Bill to remove the a liability shield for pesticide makers, and she voted against it. So if you're Maha and you're concerned about the health of your children, of your family, she voted to give pesticide makers a liability shield so you can't sue them if they hurt your children. Like, you don't want that person in office. And that's during a primary. So If you actually reelect her, it's only going to get 1,000 times worse because she doesn't care about you. She cares about her donors. And then if you're in CD2, I would say vote for Carrie Ann Lisenby. You know, let's knock Blake Moore out, or Salt Lake Blake, as I call him. I like that. It's a good nickname. You know, and actually that one, see, these two races are a little bit different because Celeste isn't in any leadership positions. She's on some committees that she thinks is a big deal, although she's using them for all the wrong reasons, because the Appropriations Committee is the one she keeps talking about. I'm on the Appropriations Committee, I'll get you money. But that's where the glyphosate vote actually happened for the first time, where she voted to keep in the liability shield for pesticide makers. So she's totally bad on every issue. I mean, hiding hush money payments for sexual misconduct, she supports that. Epstein files, she wasn't part of that effort to get those released. And look, I think some of the Epstein file stuff is kind of an op, because it is my view that if you are 18 or older and then you go and you hang out with older men because you think you're getting your modeling career, I don't really buy that as you being a victim. But I do think a lot of bad stuff happened, and it happened to children, and that all should be exposed, and that the people involved in that should all be prosecuted. So I view it a little bit differently, and maybe there's some more to it, but like, we should actually have transparency, because guess what? I ain't in the files. You're not in the files. The only people who don't want this released are the people in the files, and they should be released so we can get them out of office and out of whatever positions they're in. Mr. Producer says, how did Malloy even get elected? She didn't even live in the district she supposedly represents. Oh, she was appointed first. Well, that's true. She didn't. She lived in Northern Virginia. So I think this has been kind of, I don't have a way to like confirm this, but I think she was registered to vote in Northern Virginia. And the press, because I went and I looked at Virginia's voter records to see if I could get the information. You can't. But she could look it up on her phone, and then you should be able to see if she was registered there and if she voted. I wish someone would have asked her to do that, because my guess is that she was registered to vote in Northern Virginia, and that's why she wasn't voting in Utah. And the reality is that she does not live here. She uses her sister's address in Cedar City. That's not living here. And so think about it this way. If she loses the primary race, do you think she would come back to Utah, or do you think she stays in the DC area and goes and works for a lobbying firm? I'm going with she stays in DC because that's where she lives, and she works for a lobbying firm. She's not coming back to Utah. And then contrast that with the Phil Lyman situation, where like he owns a house like in Blanding. He has his own home. They built it. His kids live here. His grandkids live here. Like, he's actually rooted in Utah. I actually think he'd be coming back to be with his family in a like her. Like, she's not really from here. There's no real connection, except when she was here at some point, I guess, but I think that connection's all dead. She's basically been gone for the last 7 years. And, so take it for what it's worth. And then up in, like I said, also, and then the first election was total BS. She shouldn't have been on the ballot at all. It should not have been allowed to register to run. But that was because of a corrupt lieutenant governor's office. And this is something that Alex pointed out to me before, Alex Thompson that's on here, is that when Celeste did not meet the residency requirements, Lieutenant Governor Henderson reached out to her and said, hey, you don't meet it right now. You should register again as a Republican after the deadline. Compare that to how Lane Bangerter was treated and Phil Lyman when Phil tried to have Lane as his lieutenant governor candidate. She met him at the door and blocked him. Understand that there's real reasons why this stuff happened. Lieutenant Governor Henderson is totally corrupt. And a pathological liar. I said this before. That woman is a pathological liar. I would never even want to be in her presence. I think if she was, if she's ever in my presence, I don't believe in witchcraft, but I hope someone will come and burn something and get her essence out of here. You know, like nobody wants that around them. Like I said, I do not support witchcraft. But, you know, if you are dealing with witches, you probably want some of witchcraft to come and burn. What is it, rosemary or whatever? We could do that at my house. Get away. Shoo. Okay, before I sound crazy. Okay, and then Carrie Ann Lisenby, Blake Moore. Like I said, I think you should support Carrie Ann Lisenby. If we can get, like, this is a great opportunity to clean out some of these bad actors. And I was saying earlier, the difference between those two races, right, is like Celeste is not going to get the leadership support because she's just kind of like a, you know, she's basically a lackey. She does what they tell her to do. She touts it as being something more, but she takes the votes. She essentially hands her voting card to leadership, and they tell her how to vote. That's all that is. Blake is actually part of the leadership team. So if you knock him out, you actually get national news out of that. That's a big deal. It's like when, I think it was a 2014 maybe, when Eric Cantor got knocked out and he was the majority, I think he was like the majority leader or something like that. That was a big deal. I think you can have something like that happen here as well. So, you know, if you're in CD2, I would say vote Carrie Ann Lisenby. And then just think about, we can start having some real substantive change in the state. And then once we get past that, general election, we really need to focus on getting Justice Polson out of the Supreme Court. So no retain. So we open up her seat and send a message. There's two things that happen. We then send a message to the judges in the state that if you violate the Constitution and are activists, voters will remove you from the court. It's beautiful. And I'm telling you, it'll send a very strong message. It'll also send a message to the state Senate as well. So that'll be one focus. And then I think the CD1 race, I don't know if there's any hope on it, to be honest with you. We'll have to see where it goes. Like, I worry a little bit that some of the stuff people say is probably not appropriate. You know, the Libhan Mohammed, I've heard people talk about that he's Somali. But, like, I just think he was born here, brought up here. He's the same as me, really, to be honest with you. Like, my parents are immigrants, and he has every right to run. And I feel like making an issue of that instead of the policies is just not going to be a winning argument if he ends up being the nominee. And I feel like there's a shot he might be, because he showed ingenuity that none of the other candidates showed at their convention. The fact that he had 50, these people that had come over as refugees and I assume are U.S. citizens now, show up and fill these slots and go and vote for him. I just think clearly a political player, very smart. And that's someone who could actually win the primary and end up being their nominee. And then when you're dealing with that, I think you just have to be careful on how you deal with it and focus more on policy versus identity. The identity piece, I don't think it'll work. I worry because I do think like it'll come off as racist, and that's not really the place anyone wants to go. I don't think. And I'm very reluctant to say people are racist. So if I'm saying it, that's probably not a good thing. Okay, let me see what else I had here. Okay, I'm going to close out with a little piece about Sarah Palin. That's what I just want to talk about. We'll spend a few minutes on this. So, in 2008, that's when Palin was the vice presidential pick, right? They picked her. She was the governor of Alaska. She comes from a normal kind of background. So, her parents, she comes from a pretty normal family. She did go to college and she went to actually, I think, 4 different colleges, ends up going to becoming like a sportscaster, newscaster in maybe Wasilla or wherever she's from. Becomes a city council member, becomes mayor, runs some oil commission, and then actually knocks out a sitting governor. She knocked out Lisa Murkowski's father from his slot. and then McCain picked her, and so like at the time, I was a Democrat, and I had supported Hillary Clinton in her primary race against Obama. And I actually spent a lot of time volunteering for her campaign because I lived in DC at the time, and her campaign headquarters was in Arlington. So I used to go out there, make phone calls to voters and do that kind of stuff. And so when she lost, I was just like, okay, this Obama guy is totally a socialist. That I'm not that. Like I was pretty moderate. And then when Palin came on the scene, I was like, oh, she sounds like the people I grew up with. Like I really related to the messaging that she had, like it was a more simple way of talking. But if you notice, what happened is that they really worked to destroy her in the press and to destroy her reputation. And then after that election, because actually I think that McCain only ended up where he was because of Palin, meaning he would have gotten even fewer votes if it wasn't for Palin pulling through. I think a lot of working class white people, they didn't like McCain. McCain's basically like Mitt Romney, the same kind of weirdo. They hate their voter type vibes. So when she went back to Alaska, though, there was a real concerted effort to destroy her political career. And what activists started doing is they started filing ethics complaints against her. Now she was middle class, and this is my point, is they ended up driving her family to have something like $500,000 worth of legal bills based on having to defend ethics complaints that were filed against her because she was in elected office and Alaska did not cover those fees. And that's why she ended up resigning, because it was actually impacting her family and their ability to actually be able to live, you know? And the reason why I say this, I mean, I only have a couple minutes here, but is that I think the reason why Trump was important is because he had FU money, meaning no one could really take him out with those types of methods. Like if they did it to me, they could take me out because it would be difficult for me to have the financial wherewithal to withstand the impacts of getting constant legal stuff thrown at me. Trump doesn't have those issues because he's a billionaire. And I think Palin is like Trump before Trump, except without the money. And I think that's the benefit of what happened with Trump. Now, I will say, I wish that we would have had a president like a Sarah Palin, because we need somebody that comes from a more middle-class, everyday American background, so they understand the issues that we're all dealing with and why it's important that we actually change how DC operates so that it's more responsive to everyday voters and making our lives better. I just don't think it's happening right now. And I don't think that the people in power actually understand it. And it's an issue with both sides. So maybe we'll explore this more in the future, because I kind of have this alternate timeline in my head of where, like, you know, they don't destroy Sarah Palin's political career by driving her family into this like massive legal debt. And instead she runs for president. And how would that have been different? And is there someone like that today who comes from that middle-class background, who can kind of fulfill that kind of a vision for America that is more in tune with the way that everyday Americans are living and understands the problems that we have and how to fix those going forward? With that, yeah, we're at time. So thank you very much. My name is Goud, and this is the Goud Crowd. It has been a pleasure. We are on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. And you can listen to us on KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. We're live on X, Rumble, YouTube, and our website, kmmu.org. So thanks for listening. If you can like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell, that would be great. I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.